you are female and you have boobs, okay, behind the screen, please just like feel your boobs. It's normal to feel them, to hold them, to touch them. It's okay, you know, feel their size, feel their shape. Get used to what's normal for you. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to today's video. So we are talking about something really quite serious in today's video, but it is a topic that I think we should all know more about, and I hope that you can finish watching this video having learned something, feeling more empowered about your health and your body. And this is something that I didn't think I'd be talking about from a personal perspective, but it is a very recent experience of mine, and I mean, it is targeted mainly towards like females and girls, but if you are a male and you're watching this, then you know, we salute you, and you can also learn from this as well. So yeah, I hope you really enjoy this video and you take something away from it. It is, yes, serious, but you know, it's not meant to scare you in any way at all. I haven't even said what the topic is yet, but yes, I'm going to be talking about a small lump that I did feel in my right boob, my breast, this one here, and yeah, my experience with it, what it was, how I went about dealing with it. And as I said, I hope you guys can like learn stuff from this video, so definitely like it if you do enjoy it, comment down below, subscribe if you are new, hit the bell so you know when I upload, and we'll dive straight into the video. Basically, if we throw it back to last year, I can't remember exactly, I didn't write down the date, but I did feel this small lump in my boob when I was in the shower, because yes, I do have this little routine where I basically feel my boobs most days, which is something that you should do, or I encourage you to do anyway, to just like learn more about your body, be familiar with their size, their shape, how they feel, what's normal for you, because it's different for everyone, and it's something so easy for you to do just like every day or every other day in the shower. Honestly, please do not feel ashamed. I mean, I'm not gonna do it in front of you right now, but like I do, yes, feel my boobs. And so because of that, I felt something that was abnormal for me. I felt this small, like very, very small lump, and I didn't do anything straight away, I'm gonna say. I was just like, okay, I'm gonna monitor it and I'm gonna see if it like grows or changes size or shape or disappears. And if we jump then to like January, so the start of 2023, in the middle of the month, basically I was in the car with mom. Mom was on her way to her like breast screening. So in the UK, when you reach I think 50 years old, you will start to have like routine breast screening to obviously look for breast cancer. It's an NHS program, and that kind of gave me the impetus to like go and get my lump checked out, because I was like, it's still there, it hasn't grown, it hasn't changed, but I may as well just get someone professional to look at it. And that is basically what I did. I just wanted to give you guys a little real-time update. I'm in the gym, I've just had my blood test done, and I booked an appointment on the day, like this morning, to have a separate kind of investigation into basically a lump that I felt in my boob or my breast, my right one. I just thought it was the best thing to get it checked out, and the doctor that I just saw said it was the best thing to do, like I've done the right thing. I am being fast-tracked to the breast clinic just to check, and it's probably and most likely going to be a fibroadenoma, which is not cancer, it's like a benign growth. Sometimes it can be removed, other times they'll just disappear on their own, but I am going to have further investigations just in case, so this hopefully will happen in the next 2 weeks. That's just a little update, and I thought I would let you know because I've literally just had that done right now. I felt kind of anxious doing it because I don't know, like having a lump in your boob is kind of scary, but like I feel really good that I've actually done it and kind of got someone to look at it and had the investigation done, which is always best, even if you are kind of scared to, you know, get answers to these things. Yeah, 2023, sorry, is literally all over the place at the moment, but you know, lots of different things happening. So I saw a GP, she was so nice. She had to obviously examine both my boobs, ask me some questions, and the first thing she said was, she was like, it's so tiny, like I literally can't even feel it. She struggled to feel it. In that appointment, she said that it was most likely to be a fibroadenoma, which is what I thought it would be based on like my research that I'd done. What she did was she basically fast-tracked me to go and see someone at the hospital and to have like an ultrasound scan. I had one doctor firstly look at it again, like my GP. She just like marked it with a cross so that they could like properly examine it using the ultrasound scan, and that's where they use like high frequency sound waves to look look in more detail, to look at the tissue and stuff, and basically that lady couldn't even feel it, first of all, and she couldn't really see it even on the ultrasound scan. I'm currently in Cafe Nero, you guys. I'm in Covent Garden. You probably can't hear me that well, but I just thought I would let you know that this morning, so it's currently the 25th of January, I had my like breast scan basically at the hospital, and basically everything's fine, which is like the best news. I think it's shrinking already because the second lady couldn't even feel it, and she couldn't even see it using the ultrasound. But yeah, I'm just very happy that it's good news and everything is okay. As I said, like, it's just good to get these things checked out. When I did have this scan, they were just like showing me all of the breast tissue and stuff. The only thing that was slightly confusing on the ultrasound scan was that my lymph nodes in my armpits, so my axillary or auxiliary, I always say auxiliary, but I think it's axillary lymph nodes, were inflamed. So they asked if I'd been ill recently, and I hadn't been, but it was explained by the fact that I had travel vaccinations very recently in both my arms, so that's why they were inflamed or enlarged. And your lymph nodes are sites of immune reactivity. During an immune response, your lymph nodes will swell because that's where immune cells are being activated basically. They also told me that breast tissue can be quite lumpy, and that's just based on the tissue that is inside your boobs basically, which I'm going to talk about because I want to explain a bit more about normal breast tissue and fibroadenomas, what they are in relation to cancer and stuff. But that is basically my experience, what happened, the kind of timeline and what it was. So a fibroadenoma, in short, they are not cancer, they are benign, they are non-malignant, they are tumors, yes, but a tumor doesn't always mean cancer. Like, tumor is not synonymous with cancer. You can have benign tumors which are non-cancerous and malignant tumors which are cancerous, and those ones, the malignant tumors, they are aggressive and they can spread around your body, whereas benign tumors, they are just well circumscribed, they stay in one place, they're non-invasive, and as I said, they're harmless tumors. So we're now going to talk about boobs, right? From a biological perspective and from someone who loves biology, I think they're very interesting structures, really kind of complex actually, but they're composed of both fatty or adipose and non-fatty tissue, and the non-fatty tissue is like fibrous tissue or connective tissue and glandular tissue. So if we start with the fatty or adipose tissue, that fills the spaces between the fibrous and the glandular tissue. And yes, obviously the amount of fatty tissue in your boobs can influence their size and their shape, but that's not the only factor that influences that. Genetics plays a role, you know, your age, hormonal changes, whether you're breastfeeding or not, for example. And then the fibrous tissue, that's like connective or stromal tissue. Most people know collagen. You know, when I say collagen, people are like, oh yeah, collagen, I know that. So that is a key protein of fibrous tissue. It's kind of very acellular, or there's very few cells in fibrous tissue. It's largely made up of like fibrous proteins like collagen. And then we have the glandular tissue as well. So this is composed of like the lobes and the ducts of your breast, and this is all involved in like milk secretion, because our breasts or our boobs, they are exocrine glands. They secrete milk to the outside, so that's why they're called exocrine glands as opposed to an endocrine gland. But these lobes and ducts, then the best way to like describe them is to use the analogy of like a bunch of grapes basically. That represents a lobe, and the kind of stems of the grapes, not the twigs, I was gonna say twigs, but they're definitely not twigs, they represent the ducts. But you know, we have this bunch of grapes that is a lobe, and you normally have like 15 to 20 lobes per breast or boob, it depends. But then each individual grape in that bunch of grapes represents what we call a lobule. So that is like a smaller sac, and that is a cluster of cells that's involved in making the milk, secreting the milk, and then it will travel via the ducts to the nipple. And that is basically your breast tissue. So you have the fatty tissue, the fibrous, and the glandular tissue. But you do have other stuff going on inside your breasts or your boobs. You'll have like blood vessels, obviously, nerves, you have these suspensory ligaments as well that connect the skin of your boob to the chest wall, and then obviously your boobs sit on top of your rib cage, so you'll have your lungs protected by your rib cage, and then the muscles covering the rib cage. And as I mentioned before, you have axillary lymph nodes, so those in your armpits, they kind of drain the fluid from the breasts, and they are also the sites of, you know, immune reactions, as I said. And the final thing I'll mention is the areola. I said areola before and had to double check on Google.
Areola.
Oh, areola. Okay, sorry. How is it areola, not areola? I say everything wrong. But anyway, the areola, the dark area of skin surrounding the nipple, and that basically secretes lubricating oils to kind of like protect the nipple, especially during breastfeeding. So yeah, that's basically your boobs, what's inside, and hopefully you now know a bit more about them. I'll just briefly now mention why your boobs or your breasts can change size and shape. And this is again influenced by like your age, also your weight, because yes, they are composed of fatty or adipose tissue, and so if you gain weight or you lose weight, you gain fat or you lose fat, your breasts will change size accordingly. But obviously a big factor involved in this is your menstrual cycle. In premenopausal women, obviously your levels of like estrogen and progesterone will fluctuate during your menstrual cycle, and when you're on your period, normally your breasts will enlarge, they'll swell, they sometimes can feel a bit more tender than usual, lumpier as well, like more lumpier, and that's just because your boobs tend to retain more water when you're on your period, and also the ducts and the lobes will enlarge, so that makes sense for your boobs to like grow when you're on your period. It's normal, you know, everything is normal. And the next things we're going to talk about are the fibroadenomas, like why do they arise, what are they caused by, how are they diagnosed and treated, and obviously, as we have already addressed, they are not cancer. Now, if you are interested in like cancer or this kind of stuff, then I will leave a link down below to my like digital download, which is basically a big introduction to cancer. Now, it is aimed at like undergraduate students, so I called it an undergraduate's guide to cancer, but it is designed to be very accessible, and I take like complex ideas and break them down hopefully, so I will leave that link down below, as I said, if you are interested. So we're basically going to start by breaking down the word fibroadenoma. That will help us understand what this is. Fibro basically means fibrous tissue. Adenoma, when you see that, it means glandular tissue, and then oma just means tumor. Now that could be a benign tumor or a malignant tumor, and so a fibroadenoma, if we put it all together, is just a benign tumor that is composed of fibrous and glandular tissue. It basically represents hyperplasia of a lobule in your breast tissue, and hyperplasia just means increased cell division, so more cell division than normal. Yes, overgrowth or increased proliferation of cells is a hallmark feature of cancer, but there are loads of other abnormal changes that have to occur inside a malignant tumor to make it cancer, to make it aggressive. Whereas hyperplasia can be a normal process. It is seen in both benign and malignant tumors, and a fibroadenoma just represents hyperplasia of the lobule, so the cells of those grapes basically, and because it is benign, it doesn't have the ability to spread around the body. That is like the key difference between a benign tumor and a malignant one. A malignant tumor is aggressive because it is invasive. It can spread to the surrounding tissue and then spread to other distant sites in the body. A benign tumor can't do that. It is just sitting there on its own. In terms of the epidemiology, we could say of the fibroadenomas, they can occur in females at any stage of life, but they are most common in females aged between 14 to 35 specifically, but generally in your 20s and your 30s. And it's said that like roughly 10% of females will experience at least one fibroadenoma in their life. They are actually the most common lump to be found in females, especially young females, and I'm like 25, you know, slap bang in the middle of that range. And in terms of their causes, we think that genetics can play a role. I mean, there does need to be more research in this area, but the main or the prevailing hypothesis, I think at this point, is that it's influenced by hormonal changes or high levels of estrogen, basically what we call unopposed estrogen, where we have a lot of estrogen and it's not being opposed by progesterone. So we have an imbalance, we could say, and so they are going to start to develop when you go through puberty and when your boobs are still growing. And for me personally, you guys know my story, like I've been through hypothalamic amenorrhea for a lot of my life, and I've almost been through like a second puberty, because I went through puberty as normal, I got my period and then I lost it for like 7 to 8 years, and now that I've got it back, obviously my estrogen levels are high and they haven't been high for a long time. And so I don't know, I haven't done these tests on myself, but it makes sense, you know. I am still having blood tests to kind of look at my hormone levels at the moment, but you know, I may have had this imbalance and this high level of circulating estrogen that has driven the growth of this fibroadenoma. And in support of the fact that hormones are driving the development of fibroadenomas is that they will often grow during pregnancy, they often shrink and go away when you hit the menopause, and your estrogen levels reduce dramatically. And interestingly, in females who take like oral hormonal contraceptives before the age of 20 are more likely to develop fibroadenomas in comparison to those who don't take those contraceptives. The next thing I'm going to talk about is how we diagnose fibroadenomas. So in terms of how they feel and stuff, because that's what I was kind of, you know, relying on at first. They're usually very small, like firm, rubbery lumps, and you can move them. They're painless and they have very well-defined borders, and that is a key feature of benign tumors. As I said, benign tumors don't spread. They don't have that capability, and they're often just like marble shaped, like a round or oval shaped ball. That's all it really is. And if you feel something like that, it's most likely to be a fibroadenoma, because the first 2 doctors that investigated it said it was probably a fibroadenoma without even doing anything else. But the best way to diagnose a fibroadenoma is to do an ultrasound scan, which is what I had done. But if there is some ambiguity and maybe it's growing or it's changing shape, then they may do a biopsy, which is where they take some cells or tissue from the lump and they'll investigate that. But they can also do a mammogram. So that is a type of scan that uses low-dose x-rays as opposed to an ultrasound, which uses high frequency sound waves. But as I said, I just needed an ultrasound. They didn't do any further tests, and I will keep monitoring it myself. Obviously, if it changes, grows, then I'll go back, because in terms of treatment, there is no official or formal treatment. Often they'll just be stable. They could even disappear on their own, especially when you hit the menopause and, you know, you have that drop in estrogen. But in more severe cases, or as I said, if it like becomes painful or if it grows and changes shape, then they might surgically remove it. But the problem with surgery is that it could lead to unnecessary scarring. They might have to take some normal breast tissue out with it, and that could change the texture of your boobs, their shape, and you might not want that. So the best thing you can do is monitor it. That is what most physicians will advise, unless there are some complications, as I said. So that's all to do with fibroadenomas. And the final thing I just want to talk about is whether or not these fibroadenomas influence your risk of then developing breast cancer in the future. You can never say never or jump to conclusions, but in short, fibroadenomas don't seem to increase your risk of breast cancer. If there is any increase in risk, it's very, very, very tiny. And we can classify fibroadenomas into simple ones and complex ones. The complex fibroadenomas normally have like calcified breast tissue, so calcium deposits, when we look at them under the microscope. So that's how we kind of look at them histologically. But those may slightly, very slightly and subtly increase your risk of breast cancer. But obviously there are loads of other factors that influence whether or not someone goes on to develop cancer. One big one is genetics and family history. So that's basically everything I wanted to share regarding the biology of fibroadenomas. I hope everything kind of made sense, but obviously feel free to leave any questions down below or share your experiences if you feel comfortable doing that, any advice that you have. But you know, the reason why I'm making this video is to hopefully make you feel less alone if you've been through this, or if you do experience something similar in the future. And I really want you guys to start like checking and feeling your boobs and your breasts, okay? Just get into the habit. It doesn't have to be a long check. Feel them every single day in the shower. That is when most people advise you to do it. And if you get used to what's normal for you, you can notice abnormal changes. And then if you do notice something abnormal, don't feel ashamed about getting it checked out. This extends beyond your boobs, okay? Like anything relating to your health. And obviously, as I've tried to also emphasize in this video, like a lump does not always mean cancer. Please do not always believe Google. If you type in lump on Google, it will most likely come up with cancer. But as I said, a tumor, a lump of some sort, can be benign, can be malignant. A benign tumor is not cancer, it's harmless. So don't always believe Google. Just like go and talk to someone about it, get it checked out. But yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video and found it useful. As I said at the start, definitely like it if you did enjoy it. Comment down below if you want to hear anything else about this topic or any other topic ideas, questions, like fire them at me, you know. Subscribe if you are new and you want to stick around, hit the bell so you know when I upload, and as always, I'll speak to you very soon in another video. Bye! Areola, is that how you say it? I always feel stupid when I say these words because I think it's wrong.
Areola.
Oh, I swear I say everything wrong.
I'm basically in a convent. Can't speak. Why can't I speak?
That clump of grapes, the clump of grapes, handful of grapes, whatever. You've got a bunch of grapes. That's the word I'm looking for, right? A bunch of grapes. Lobule is such an interesting word. I need to do some date checking here. Why is it blurry? Can you please tell me? I wanna be your enemy. Maybe I should put the blanket on. Thick blanket to keep me warm.